host, Kevin Barrier, and welcome to 5Dubs Marketing Pros, where we highlight awesome brands and the stories behind them, and maybe just maybe geek out on all things marketing. All right, I am excited to have on today a family of entrepreneurs who have taken a brand established since 1962 and have taken it to new heights in new and brilliant ways. Rooted in Woodstock, Maryland, this brand is passed down from father to son for 5 generations. Their gold standard attention to quality has allowed them to expand their brand into other areas of business, including a barbecue smokehouse that serves ridiculously amazing food and well-attended and sought-after events on their property. With the help of a longtime friend and content creator and marketer, this brand is getting the word out like never before and by storm. I'd like to welcome Tony Braglio and Roman Braglio, also known as the Braglio brothers of Braglio Farms, and Doug Wilder of Better Together Media Group. Hey, guys.
How you doing?
What? What's going
I'm
on?
good. I'm excited. So for those that don't know, so there's a little bit of a high school reunion going on here today. So I went to high school with Doug and Tony. So when they agreed to come on, I was super excited. And Roman, I got to learn a little bit more about you during your college days as Tony was posting on social media about all of the successes that a very proud big brother saw in his younger brother back in, while you're in University of Maryland. So
Coach too. A coach too. Don't forget he coached me in Little League.
there it is, and you're coach for Little League. So it's
Right.
I feel like I know you a little bit, but it's great to meet you too.
Kevin
So
got my first job at the movie theater.
that's right. Yep. That's
Oh
right. Yeah, I
wow.
was at Boardwalk Fries, and yeah, you God, what was that movie theater called in the mall?
Hoyts.
Hoyts. Yeah, I got it at Hoyts. That's right. That's right. I remember that. Man, I feel old now. I feel old. Like we all have beards and kids, and back then it was so like carefree and wild. So, but time can never get back. But I want to talk a little bit. Where I want to start is so Braglio Farms. Obviously, I have an interest in Braglio Farms because from our high school days, I recall even back in high school, like it was known that Tony and Roman, your father was an entrepreneur, is an entrepreneur, and that entrepreneurship bleeds down, right? Like we always knew it would kind of bleed down to Tony. Tony always had this entrepreneurial mind, even in high school, and it was really cool to see. So as I saw Braglio Farms really kind of creeping up within the social landscape, obviously I was interested, but then like for me as a marketer, as I'm fracking down into the brand and kind of dissecting it and what you guys do, it's just like there's brilliance after brilliance on everything you guys do, from what Doug does for you guys to the products that you serve, the services that you offer. It's incredible to see your guys' growth. But I want to start a bit at the beginning. So Tony, if I'm not mistaken, so Braglio Farms, I mean, it's been around longer than any of us on here have been alive. It's, for over 60 years now. Can you talk to me a little bit about kind of where Braglio Farms, like how Braglio Farms started and what was, Papa Joe Braglio and his son Wayne's vision at the time for Braglio Farms back in the early 60s?
Yeah, well, actually, Braglio Farms actually got created out of a love for horse racing. So being in Maryland, there's a horse racing history in the area, and my grandfather and great grandfather were very much into horse racing back in the day. I mean, grandfather Papa Joe, he had horses that raced against Man of War and stuff. We're talking back in the 30s and 40s, racing horses, and being an Italian immigrant family, for him being first generation was one of his passions to have their own farm. Eventually, worked in the stone quarries out here in Granite or Woodstock, where we're from, and opened up his first restaurant and culinary experience in what is known today as the Windsor Inn, used to be called the Airport Inn, and then moved from that Windsor Mill area out to Woodstock, and that's when they bought the first family farm, which is still our core main farm that we started, and it all came out of love for racehorses and wanting to race horses, and the cattle and things like that came as an accompaniment to the racehorses, because when you have other livestock, out there with your horses, it kind of keeps the horses calm and keeps them serene. So when they're, resting or training in between stuff like that, and the original Charolais cattle that we raised at our main original farm were glorified pets for the longest time, up through my great grandfather's passing in 2004, we really didn't process them for meat. We just kind of raise cattle and sell the offspring and things like that. And we've come more into that, tradition. What you see today is that farm to table traditional farm setup, from that, raising good locally sourced beef, things like that. And Roman can kind of speak a little bit more to the process of the farm and how we raise the animals and things like that. But really, our roots and even our logo, our B that you see, the circle, that's our original jockey colors and logo that was on all the jockeys that raced for us over the years. So that's kind of where it all kind of came from.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that. That's cool. Wow, that's a great story. Okay, so so back the origins were for horse racing, and between the early '60s into now, Braglio Farms has it appears probably have gone through pivots and optimizations and just growth and evolution and iterations. Talk to me a little bit about the journey from a farm focused on racehorses to kind of where you are now, because there are a lot of different offshoots of the brand that have been introduced into the community. Like when did that start? Looking to just really expand its overall business and kind of maximize that value. Like when did that start? Was that with you, Tony, or was that prior? What's that journey look like?
That probably really began, as I thought, grandfather Wayne passed away in 2000 when I was a freshman at Western Maryland from McDaniel College. And, we kind of, that's when our father Scott Bragley was kind of taking over the family farm. My great grandfather was still alive, but, we were still had one racehorse at that time. Just as my great grandfather had just gotten back into racehorse and bought a $5,000 Tamer horse in Bombay's Best. That horse ended up winning my great grandfather 100 grand though, over the 5 year stretch we had her. But when my dad kind of got involved, our family background is that restaurant business, and he's always wanted to open up a steakhouse. So he's always had a passion for good steakhouses, good steak and things like that. So he wanted to really get more into, breeding beef cattle and making it more than just, pets that we have in our backyard and our front yards, on the compound that we all live on. And expanding it. And it's at this time, Roman's getting to college age and, showing an interest in, definitely looking at Maryland and showing interest in, the agricultural economics program and things like that. And, being option minded, how can we, jump on this farm to table kind of scenario that's been a trending thing at this time and really bring it to our stuff. So it started with us, paying more attention to breeding cattle and raising them and processing them more for beef cattle and then selling them through our own restaurants. So we can serve a premium product and differentiate ourselves from the competition, so to speak, in our restaurant environment. And it just kind of grew the farm to table and everything that we've done over the years, from working large events and doing things like that to expand on what we're doing.
Yeah, and so you mentioned so it seems to me kind of like the stars started aligning, right? You saw this opportunity of the farm to table trend right around the time Roman's about ready to start college, and Roman, it would seem to me like there were always intentions by you to join the family business, and you went to University of Maryland for agricultural economics, and played football at University of Maryland. I think you were team captain as well. I mean, you were kind of a big deal, right? So talk to me a little bit about that process and your thought behind it. Did you always want to get into the family business? Was there a point in time when you decided, you know what, I'm gonna pursue this course? Talk to me a little bit about that end of things.
I could probably tell you the exact location I wanted to pursue this course. It was in Hamilton, Ontario. I just got cut from the Tiger Cats, and I called my dad. I told him I threw my cleats over the power line and I was coming home to the farm. So I chased a pro football career for a little bit, 2 years. Wasn't working out in my favor. It was a great opportunity, had to chase it. It was very fun chasing it. But came home and was very fortunate to come back to work on the family farm. We started firewood and things like that. And while I was in college, did I ever think that I was going to be, selling firewood and doing events and having a food truck and things like that? Absolutely not. My dreams were to play in the NFL. But yeah, while I was in there, I knew that I would always have, my education to fall back on. So agriculture economics was the plan. University of Maryland kind of pointed me in that direction. I had that background from growing up at the farm, always had a passion for it, and was able to come home and use the background that I got from Maryland, and kind of evolved from there. A lot of hard work and a lot of years of trial and error, especially with the cattle. Tony mentioned that, our father he has a true passion to this day, to the steaks, because, I'll be honest with you, every time a steer comes back, there's at least 2 to 6 ribeyes going to him. He's got to, someone's got to try it. Someone's got to be the taste tester, and he holds that label strong. But different breeds, different styles of feeding, and stuff like that. All things that I was able to pick up at University of Maryland. We studied a big background being agriculture economics, and that's kind of helped me in all aspects of farming. Whether it's in the office, in the field where we're doing soil samples, and where we're going to spread the manure in the off seasons and things like that. So all of that has helped us become into the operation from, kind of the pleasure farm in the front yard to what we're doing now. It's a total of 4 farms that we farm, 200 head of cattle. It's 400 acres of hay that we bale every year, 3 times a year. So it's a full-time job. I was actually talking to somebody the other day. It's a lifestyle. It's got to be something you love. It never ends, especially with the animals and with everything else that we do. Being the farmer and the chef, from the start to the finish, we handle the whole process, and we couldn't do it without being a family operation.
Yeah, and I think for all of us, Francis Scott Key High alumni, we grew up in Carroll County, right? The best day. The best day of the year was Ag Day, right? At Key. Brian Owings bringing his big fat pig right in the back of his pickup. So I've always had this appreciation for the farming industry. Obviously, I've never been in the farming industry, but I've always had this appreciation. It's interesting you said that it's farmer to chef, right? Which is that is the epitome of farm to table. And Roman, talk to me a little bit about your cattle, right? Because am I correct in saying you're kind of from a farmer standpoint, you're the day to day, you're taking care of the cattle, you and your father, and I'm sure Tony too, but that's kind of your end of the business, or a portion of that part of the business is nurturing that product, right? And that's your product. What's interesting to me is your product, and your marketing behind it's never been salesy, right? Which a lot of businesses are. And I think that's because your product is beyond gold standard, right? Your product's good because you're directly associated with the value of that product. So talk to me a little bit about how you approach that really labor intensive way to raise cattle the right way. What kind of cattle do you have, and why is it the best cattle? Talk to me a little bit more about the cattle side of things.
Okay. So we wanted to stay true to our tradition and keep the Charolais. Charolais is a French breed. They have a great flavor of beef. When you eat a purebred Charolais, it has a very distinct flavor. It's got like I said, it's got a very beefy flavor. It still keeps a leaner meat. It's not very fatty. We typically think that Angus can be too fatty. So that's why we kind of hang around the Charolais. But we have transitioned. We still do purebred Charolais, but we also do a Limousine and Charolais cross. Limousine is known for the yield. They also have a great fat presence, so the marbling and the steaks is going to be there a lot of the time. So we also think about plate size. So a lot of times Charolais can grow very tall. So a 20-ounce ribeye on a plate is going to be 3/4 of an inch, where an Angus ribeye is going to be 1.25 inches at 20 ounces. So that's something that we can consider. That's where we feed them out to. So we feed everything out to roughly around 1,200 pounds. And our processes have honestly evolved a lot from when we first started. We used to feed them all the way through, and we found out that that was giving them too much of a fat, too much marbling. There wasn't enough flavor in it. A lot of it's changed. So now we start them out to about 800 pounds on grass. We transition them to then a grass and a grain mix. So we're feeding them out and finishing them on grain. But in terms of marketing our stuff, it's always been kind of, in my mind, being transparent, allowing people to really see our process. I'm not throwing you a sales pitch other than I want you to try my stuff. Just try it, and that's really going to do the talking. But people need to know where their food comes from, who's handling it. Gives you that security of when you're spending the money on a $40 steak at a restaurant at the Woodstock Inn, or you're eating a brisket sandwich from the smokehouse. You know exactly where it started. You know the process of how it's cooked, the whole 9 yards, and that's really been the marketing process. Between my brother and I showing our face that we want to be involved in businesses, and telling people how we do this, and that's why we make the videos and things like that. So I think transparency is very key in what we do.
Yeah, and so that's interesting because yeah, I mean, people want to know where their food comes from, especially now more than ever, right? It just it gets worse in not knowing who and what is behind the food that you're eating. So there's this really respectable artisanship that you guys bring with your cattle and all of your other products as well. And the with having that product, um, being served at like your smokehouse, right? It's like all of these brands that you guys, or I guess all of these ventures that you guys have created under the Braglio Farms brand have been just a really good marriage of each other. And Doug, so I came about really looking at Braglio Farms because of the smokehouse videos. They started getting out there on social media. It took one for me to want to dive into all the other videos I could find because there was a brilliance in the content, right? Because content's king, right? In marketing, but it was valuable content that taught me something that was easy to understand, relatable, and just very well done. And that's been kind of, Doug, was that your vision as you approached the video content creation side of things for Braglio Smokehouse? Like, what was your vision
Yeah, I
in
think
how you've created these?
we all sort of approached it under this. They sat down with me and we talked about what was important for them and what they really wanted to get out about the business. And the thing that really always rings true when you're dealing with people who aren't hiding anything is that they want the authenticity of the craft surrounding all of their work to be what they're marketing. They want to tell everybody how honest and true and like, stand up their businesses. And I think, as somebody who's been in marketing for a long time, that like that maintains loyal customers, but it doesn't get you any. That sort of idea of like authenticity doesn't get you new customers, but it keeps customers, right? So like people like the Braglio businesses, that have always focused on extreme quality and extreme standards, right? They're already set up for success if you can just get people in the door. And one of the things that we have with the two of them is this sort of great relationship where they can kind of poke fun at each other and have fun with each other. And that's really how we started sort of honing in on doing these cooking videos. And, we knew we wanted to sell the meat. We knew we wanted to sell the sauces and the seasonings. And we knew we wanted to sell the combinations that they would be creating on the food truck and in the smokehouse. And so getting the word out there in a way that actually got people's attention so that we could initialize those customers to come in so that they could be, kept on the roster through the authenticity and the quality of the business. That's really how we landed on the videos that we've landed on.
Yeah, and what's interesting is like when marketers are trying to gain customers by putting out there our product or our client's product or service is high quality, right? It's unfortunately greedy marketers have just bastardized that strategy on every like these days. If you typically if you hear like we're high quality, well, of course you are. You wouldn't say anything different. But what we see in
Right.
the videos is, it's going beyond talking the talk, and it's showing. And I agree. I think Tony and Roman, you guys are perfect together. It seems authentic, and I think that authenticity exactly is where you gain customer loyalty, right? It breaks down walls. You don't feel like you're being sold. It's just two guys having a good time. Smoking meat or smoking salsa was one that I was brilliant. Like that was brilliant. And you know,
The Oreos are my favorite. Not just to eat, but that like video of wrapping the Oreos in bacon. I love that video.
yeah, it's just everything that's done from like even just the little tips and tricks. Like there was one that was you guys were doing smoked wings, and it was like what you were saucing the wings, and Tony mentioned like if you want to kind of tone down the sauce a little bit, like I guess the spiciness or heat of the sauce, add some butter in, and that was something I like. I learned something then, and any good piece of content, if it teaches somebody something, it will always win. And what I love is you guys, beyond highlighting the meat and the livestock end of things, you guys have amazing rubs and sauces that you use as well in your videos. Tony, talk to me because Tony, people can't see, but Tony is sitting in this awesome area with a smoker sitting directly behind him and smokers like phalanxed around him to the left and right. You can tell that like with Tony and Roman, like hickory smokes in their blood. So Tony, talk to me a little bit about how you got into that smoking side of things, because I can tell you're all passionate about it, and then how that translated into your line of sauces and seasonings.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, I mean, growing up in like I said, the family business there with the restaurants over the years, I've been fortunate enough to work with a lot of very talented cooks and chefs over the years. And my kind of wood fired cooking and smoking kind of developed. One day we came home, we used to drag, father and I and my brother, we play with race cars. We don't play with the racehorses anymore. We have race cars. So we came home from the racetrack one day and literally went to Costco and bought some ground beef and brought it home. You know what I mean? Before we were really big into our own meats and things like that. And my father had a big green egg, and first time we kind of fired it up because we're usually busy on the weekends, and fired it up, and we were like, wow, this wood style fire cooking made this kind of, not that Costco has bad meat by any means, but just store brand type meat. It made a big difference in the flavor of that meat. I mean, we're sitting here going, all right, well, if it can do it to this stuff, what does it do when you got a real good quality piece of meat? So my father ended up buying me a green egg, and I just started playing with it on my porch at the house. And then a couple of friends of mine, we later got into more some pellet style grills and the traditional stick burners. But the real passion for everything, me just playing at home, where it turned into more of a regular thing, is during COVID. When you had the meat scarcities in the grocery store, we had people, bum rushing the farm trying to get beef from Roman in the store out there. And, I'm sitting there, half the world shut down. Our one business, the Woodstock Inn, that I kind of receives, in carry out mode only, so to speak. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to start, smoking meats and putting them in 1 pound prepared packs and freezing them and giving it to people to take home to reheat. And we started selling them through the Woodstock Inn in our little carryout area that we ended up developing during COVID, and selling it at the store. And pretty much since then, I've been smoking at least 500 pounds of meat a week. Lots of trial and error through that period. I can tell you right now, I messed up a lot of good brisket before I found the right technique and combination to what you get in the smokehouse today or what you get out at the farm. And that's part of the video stuff that we do is kind of share the knowledge that we've learned through trial and error. And like I said, we're fortunate enough that we've stayed in contact with a lot of our chefs and stuff over the years, and I still chat with them online. We trade secrets and things like that. That's the other good thing about the barbecue world or the fire cooking stuff is people are open book about it. They're like, well, here's how I do it. Here, go try it. And that's what we're trying to share with the everyday person. Here's our line of seasonings and sauces. It's not necessarily that you have to barbecue something or smoke it, we teach time and temp. So you can do this stuff in your oven. You can, do it in your air fryer. Or if you're just simply making Taco Tuesdays, we got a taco seasoning. Here's how we do it. And, it's no MSG, all natural stuff, very minimal sugars, things like that in our spices. So it's, an educational thing, sharing our knowledge with, the masses, and letting people be less intimidated about coming into the farm store and buying a 50 or $60 piece of meat and afraid they're going to go home and mess it up, and it keeps them from buying it. So now it's like, well, here's the meat, here's the seasonings, and here's our YouTube video with the instructions. Follow this step by step, and you can't go wrong. And you can have a great quality product at home. So
Yeah, and you mentioned like, no MSG and like low sugar or no sugar. I remember the smoked wings video Roman mentioned with the seasoning. It's like no sugar, which obviously like that speaks to people. So Doug, as you're making those videos, like there those little quips, right? Those are, for a lack of a better term, they're selling points, right? They're value propositions for consumers.
Yeah.
You guys masterfully kind of bake those in at the perfect spots where they're so incredibly seamless. What for a small business that may just be starting up, that may want to try to dive into video content creation. Just little, they're on a bootstrap budget. They have an iPhone, maybe. Like, what would one tip, trick, or recommendation be from someone who is a level 50 mage of making videos, and that sort of content, among a lot of other things? Like, what's a good tip or trick on like how to approach creating video content?
Well, I think the key is remembering that like editing is not linear. So you're going to film somebody doing the cook, but then we always go back and film them reading the script. Like we write up a script with all of the like fun points and like interesting tidbits and things that we want to get across about the meal. And then, they might do some of that on the fly because they've read it beforehand, and they're, in winging it, they're going back to what they know. And of course they know the product so well, they're able to just nail these little moments. But then afterwards, if we feel like, okay, we really wanted to get in that this has no sugar, we've got that, we can take them saying it from reading the copy and then put it over top of the food, of images of the food. So, I mean, that's the thing is like, if you think that making a video is just you talking to the camera, then you're going to make a boring video. But if you've got the ability to remember that the camera can be looking at anything and you can be saying anything at any time, and you can find those little beats and moments to fill in information as you go, then you can really come up with something that people might actually want to watch and be interested in.
That's great advice, because you see a lot of like obviously self-made content where it's a camera pointing at somebody in a fixed position, right? And you're losing value on seeing like when you're doing close-ups on like a cross section of meat, and like you squeeze it and the juices are running. I mean, it's like, that's like, I'm salivating just thinking about it. It's incredible. It's incredible. That's a great piece of advice. So Roman,
if you can afford a professional for anything, like if you had one day and $500 to bring in a person with a camera, that would be the thing you'd want, is just glory shots of food in a restaurant situation. You can then add, you can put those shots in any of your videos.
Yeah. So it sounds like, obviously making sure that you map out, you kind of storyboard what you want to do. You understand what's the goal, and what are you featuring? Right? You're not necessarily just featuring a human being. You want to feature the product, right? And you do such a great job at that. That's awesome. So Roman, you have sauces, you have rubs and seasonings. If I'm someone who has never tried a Braglio Farms sauce or seasoning, what would a good entryway be? Like, what's your favorite sauce or seasoning? You may say all of them are, but what would a good solid starter?
A solid starter to try.
I want to, let's say I want to, I want to throw a whole chicken on the smoker. Like I'm kind of diving in. I'm buying meat from Braglio Farms.
Okay.
I got the meat, which is A+ standard. What's a good utility sauce and seasoning that you guys have?
Gotcha. So the beautiful thing about the labels on the spices, they have little icons on them telling you what they're best used for. If you're throwing a chicken in the smoker or something like that, and Tony's probably going to correct me, but it's a freaking Greek on there. It's delicious. I love it. It gives a nice crispy skin to it. And if you're doing like a beer can chicken or something like that, real juicy inside, the skin crisps up. That's my personal favorite.
Yeah, but
Um,
I'm gonna have to agree with that one. Our freaking Greek, as we call it, is their Mediterranean seasoning. They're kind of paying homage to where our family's from in Naples, Italy. Um, and it's got a lot of herbs, good salt, pepper, garlic, and your kind of standard core stuff, the Holy Trinity, as they say, which can't go wrong with it. Veggies, fish, chicken. I make all my chicken noodle stews, all my stocks with that soup. So that's one of our good general purpose everyday spices. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, everyone, freaking Greek. Everyone remember that. So what's the sauce you'd recommend?
The sauce, I will say that on the food truck, that the customer favorite is the sort of sweet. I mean, we just blow through the sort of sweet. I always tell people that is, your typical Midwest barbecue sauce. It's got that sweet, um, sweet flavor to it. It's got, it's still got the barbecue spices in there and things like that. But it's good on everything. For the pork, I'm a big fan of the sweet Carolina sauce. I tell everybody to put it on there. We actually serve our sandwiches with it on the trailer. People love it. And then you got the Alabama white sauce or that yum yum sauce. A lot of people are hesitant to use it. They don't really know what to put it on. Tony's a master at doing that. He made a breakfast sandwich, brisket, eggs, and yum yum. It is delicious. It's very
It
good.
almost sounds like a holiday sauce when you put it in that realm. It's great on wings as a dipping sauce. I even got a recipe that one of the recipes we're going to put out. We will teach you how to make a very nice spicy kind of coleslaw with it. So it's a lot of versatility in everything we can do, and that's some of the content that we're going to continue to develop and share out there. Christmas time's coming around and holiday stuff. So look out for our pineapple chipotle sauce, and we'll teach you how to make a ham glaze with it.
Yeah, and I want to talk about it because holiday is coming up. So, so by the time this comes out, it's going to be late October. It's going to be, Thanksgiving's right around the corner. Christmas holidays right around the corner. I mean, food's on top of mind. Talk to me a little bit about the cool stuff that Braglio Farms. Are you guys going to be doing the turkey kits again for Thanksgiving, or talk to me a little bit about what people can look out for during the holiday season.
So we'll
Yeah,
at the farm definitely be doing our turkey sales again. Last year we did a great cross promotion with the smokehouse with the brine and the seasoning. So we have a turkey seasoning that Tony does, and he does a great brine package. It comes in a bag. There's a great video. Tony put a video out last year of how to use the brine bag and stuff like that. I'm sure he's got more to add on to it.
And so let's talk about that for a second. So you can get your turkey, you can get your brine, you can get your brine bag. It sounds like you guys have created this kit that makes it almost foolproof, right? I mean, it's everything you need to make probably the best turkey you've ever had. It's easy, it's convenient. Is that what I'm getting? Is that kind of what you guys are doing with your turkey kits? And am I right in that?
yeah, no,
Yeah,
absolutely. That's
Yeah.
exactly what we're trying to do.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Awesome. Okay, that's great because there's a convenience factor to that, right? Especially for someone who has to host, a bevy of people in their house and try to get a dinner made. I mean, it makes it so easy. That's
it's
brilliant.
terrifying for some people,
Yeah,
you
no,
know?
that's brilliant. That's
Yeah.
brilliant. So we have Thanksgiving covered, but the December holidays are going to be coming around. People are going to be needing to feed a lot of people. What do they need to know? And when do they need to get their orders in to make sure that it can be fulfilled? I mean, I'm sure there's only so much product, right, to go around. It's, talk to me about how they can prepare in advance to make it easy and simple for them and during this holiday season.
So we'll definitely be putting our ads out for Thanksgiving and Christmas. We will have a cutoff date. We'll probably announce that it's probably going to be 2 weeks before, so we can get everything on our end booked out. I know that the farm and the smokehouse will be doing Thanksgiving dinners, so if you just want to show up with some great food and not get your hands dirty whatsoever, we'll be doing that, and that that'll be soup to nuts, as my dad likes to say. It'll be the all the garnishes, all the sides, the turkey, everything. But if you'd like to do it yourself, we have all the frozen meats, the sauces, spices, and all that stuff. So
Got everything. Got
yeah,
everything.
Yeah, and then we
That's
work with
awesome.
a local turkey farm and the source because we don't raise turkeys naturally, but anything that we don't raise ourselves, we look in the local farming community and go, who has a great product, similar to our standards and qualities, and we partner with them to bring it in. So we'll have the fresh turkeys at the farm and things like that that you can buy and take home with our seasoning kits to take care of, or that will be the same turkey we can smoke for you ahead of time and give you the nice reheat instructions. So
And see what's great about that is you guys it's obvious that the attention to quality is so important. Like it shows in the products that you have on your farm, which would give anyone that trust and comfort that if for you to vet other local farms that are doing great things like you to give is equally a high quality product that within their product line than you have. There's comfort there, right? It makes it, you guys really do make it easy for the consumer. And I can't imagine it's easy for you. I mean, this has to be labor intensive. I mean, it's a labor of love. I can see that. But, as we wind down, one thing I like to ask everyone is like, as they look back on their business journey, what's something that maybe they learned that, a new business could benefit off of, or maybe something that in hindsight you would do differently. What would that be? Tony, let's start with you on that.
well, uh, official or unofficial CFO for the family, I always recommended everybody at least take accounting one, accounting two, or a basic accounting class on any new business, just because you have to do those basic functions along with business. I mean, we're all passionate about smoking meat and everything else, but that's the product we sell, raising the animal and smoking meats, but you still got to take care of the business aspect of it. So any way you can educate yourself in the basic accounting practices or business management skills, I highly recommend anybody, whether it's a community college class, an online class. There's so many options nowadays to be able to get that kind of education and things like that. I would highly recommend it, and it's fairly inexpensive these days as well. So,
Okay, great. Roman, what about you?
I would add on to that and say educate yourself. Definitely, there's a lot of trial and error. Don't give up. But educating yourself is you know the key to a lot of things you need. Networking is also a great aspect to that, community and things like that. So,
Yeah, because you guys are really in the community a lot. I want to make sure we touch on that because that's important. I it kind of pulls the heartstrings for me on businesses that give back to the community. I mean, talk to me a little bit about some of that work that you're doing in the community. It could be with, sponsoring a little league team to, I mean, whatever. I mean, talk to me a little bit about that community outreach you guys do.
so at the farm, so we have a nonprofit organization, the Braglio Foundation. Our Watermelon Fest this year, the Braglio Foundation hosted that, and we take proceeds and donate them to local charities. So Williams Syndrome Foundation is one. We donate to the local fire halls, the police stations, and things like that. But community is such a big aspect, um, just because that's my demographic. That's who's around us. That's who we want to educate about our products and show that they can get fresh food right down the street and things like that. So I think that would be my touch on the importance of community.
That's awesome. And Doug, what about you from your end of things, from the content creation and marketing side of things? What's something that you've learned or maybe in hindsight you do differently?
If you're starting a marketing company, don't forget about your own marketing. That's
That is so
I'm
true.
thinking myself every day
Bravo.
about this already. Like I just like every day I go and market, do my marketing work for the people I have sort of on a roster, and then go shoot videos for anybody who's signed on for a video business card or
Uh-oh.
something, a single day shoot. And then I finish the
All
day
right.
and I
Oh,
go,
there we
oh,
go.
I'll go home now, instead of, oh, I really should spend an hour marketing me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, no, that makes sense. No, and that's a great point. I mean, it's especially with marketing agencies, you are so deep deep diving into your client's brand. You sometimes forget that, marketing your own business is a great portfolio and example of what you can do and what you have to offer. No, that's great. So before we leave, I want to make sure, because you guys have a country store, you have an ice cream shop, you have the smokehouse, you have the farm, you've had events throughout the year, the Watermelon Fest. I mean, all of these different places, like your the food truck, right? I mean, the food truck, like, it's going to be kind of towards the end of October when people hear this. Where can they find you to give you a try? I mean, you have your e-commerce on your website, Roman. Where can people go to check out the food truck, or get some smoked meat, get that smoked meat breakfast sandwich with the
Gotcha. So
yeah.
if you're going to be hearing this in October 7th, we are doing a beer and barbecue festival at the farm. That'll be a fun one. Going to do a lot of local barbecue guys and local breweries out here. But the trailer is parked at the farm Friday through Sunday. We're serving from 11 until 8 o'clock. Um, During the week, we try and go to local food events. We are at Winfield Fire Hall every Thursday. We're at Tawnytown. There's a Tawnytown Liquors up there. We're at every Tuesday. We're at Mount Airy Mondays, right there at Liquidity Brewery, downtown Mount Airy. So all those events are from 4 to 8. We do some local events as well. We're in the Carroll County Farm Museum. We just got into Redskins Stadium for some games, so that's pretty exciting. We get
That's
to go down
awesome.
there.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, but that's been great, and that is a great networking tool for us to really go out and I'm face to face networking with customers, let alone they're actually trying our product. And, hopefully they love it. They return to either the farm or the smokehouse, and it's worked out great doing it that way. It's been fun meeting everybody and talking to people and seeing their own enthusiasm for barbecue and our own product. So it's been
Yeah,
fun.
Roman, because you're in the truck, right? I mean, when your truck's out
Yeah,
and about, you're the
I'm out
farmer
there
serving
flipping
the
burgers, baby.
community. Yeah,
That's right.
that's awesome, man. I mean, that's not necessarily always the case with food trucks, right? I mean, so having the guy, right, that's caring for all of this product and just painstaking work every day, being able to kind of see that other side where you're serving it to the community. I mean, that's a pretty special thing for both sides, for you guys and also the community. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's really fun making that connection.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
It's cool.
So it sounds like if they want to find you, just kind of turn your head to the left or the right, and they'll probably see you,
Yeah.
right?
So we post all, if they really want to find us, our websites, our food truck schedule is on there. All of our event schedules are up on there. Our social media accounts, we're on Instagram and Facebook. We're pretty much posting daily on that stuff. But yeah, look left or right, or watch us go down 26. We're going down 26 a lot these days. So
That's awesome. So yeah, if people want to visit the website, it's bragliofarms.com. There's an online market on there. If you're not in the area, if you are in the area, stop by any one of those places that Roman mentioned and get some food that'll will blow your mind off your head. So that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I think we are coming to an end here. I really appreciate you all taking the time and telling your story. It's such an awesome story to tell, and I'm so excited to see the successes you guys have had throughout the time and all of the successes you will have. I definitely will be a fly on the wall, and I definitely want to try that brisket breakfast sandwich with yum yum sauce, because that sounds
You can get it any day at the
incredible.
smokehouse in Finksburg.
There it is. There it is. Get your
Get
breakfast
that breakfast
sandwich
sandwich
on the
in
way
your
to Owings
butt.
Mills. Awesome. Awesome. Well,
Indeed.
thank you, everyone. Thank you to everyone that listened. Thank you to Roman, Tony, and Doug for talking about smoked meats and awesome things that Braglio Farms doing. Check out bragliofarms.com. Check out their online market. They do firewood. They got their food truck, ice cream shop, catering and venue rental, photo shoot booking, events. I mean, you guys do it all, and you do it all very well. Thank you all for taking the time.
Thank you, brother.
Yes, thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
All right.
All right, now we don't go anywhere, right?
Five Dubs Marketing Pros is hosted by me, Kevin Barrier. Our executive producer is MDDC Executive Director Rebecca Snyder. Post-production by Caroline Pecora. Our theme music is by Azulu Studio. A special thank you to our guests for being with us. You can find Five Dubs and Five Dubs Marketing Pros on Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcast.